If you haven't watched Death Note, seriously, just do it. It's one season. I don't know how many episodes. It can't be more than 25, I think. It must be about 25, 30 episodes, somewhere around there. It's absolutely worth the watch. They only had one season of it, like almost 20 years ago, and it still has such a cult following today. Because they tapped into such a deep psychological urge that we all possess. We all desire to be worshipped on our own terms. Every single one of us do. That's the God complex that comes with our level of sentience. We all desire to be worshipped. That's why gods seem so much like us. We inspired them. They didn't inspire us. And you want to know why I say this? Because marketing as an industry exists to fulfill just that urge in us. Every single one of us is Light Yagami. Every single one of us is Kira. In our own way. Every single one of us. There's a part of you that has this insatiably diabolical level of just need to control everything. Not even need to control everything, but really a need to just impact everyone in such a profound way. The thing I love about Death Note is how plain it is. How it tells you everything you want to see and hear. But it doesn't tell you outright. Spoilers, by the way. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you have, but if you haven't, if you have, then you're cool. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But it's been out like 15 plus years now, and you can watch it in a number of different places. You've been warned. But Kira, to me, in fact, Light Yagami, to me, is the epitome of what happens when you give an overachieving nerd a license to kill. Because a nerd, in that sense, let me know, like just an academically an overachieving, academically gifted child. Their standards of success have been predefined by what the schools want, the universities want, by what the grade givers want. If you can get that A and A plus every single time, you know you deserve that A plus. You can't get anything less than that. People will not view you as anything if you get any less than that A plus. It creates a vicious cycle. And it's such a telling commentary on Japanese society as well. Because they're an overachieving society, absolutely. And Light Yagami himself is the top of the class. But what does he do when he gets the Death Note? And he realizes that he has the power to kill, basically the power of God in his hands. At any moment, anyone he so chooses, if he knows their name, he kills petty criminals. He kills the bad people as predefined by essentially the state, not even the society, but the state. Yes, fine. Yeah, it's not people that we miss having around. But does his sense of justice and morality justify a person like him having the Death Note? Absolutely not. It was only later on in Death Note that the only reason he started killing like higher ups in society is because they were on to him. Like they were circling him in a sense. I gotta rewatch it. I'm not exactly sure if I'm phrasing it correctly, but they were kind of onto him as well. Yeah, they were basically onto him. Kira had no desire to kill any president or any figurehead, really. Any he didn't decide to go like just assassinate any CEOs or anything, especially like I'm pretty sure they would have come up with like a really deeply corrupt CEO for him to kill, right? It was never that. It was the people who were molded by the system to become wards of the state. And if not that, it was the police officers. He was more into the thrill of breathing down the neck of the people investigating him than he was actually fixing anything in society. I know towards the end they say, wars have stopped and, there's people are making peace and everything and blah, blah, blah. Sure. I think that was just a rush statement on their part. Like, how did it happen though? Okay, yeah, people are afraid. And they never really pushed the angle of what if he goes after really important people? They never pushed that angle enough. It was always about him delving further and further into that hunger for just power and control and just to be worshipped, essentially. Which I mean, it's a pretty good angle as well. But I think they kind of left it wide open in that sense for people to criticize and to see the flaws of thinking that you having absolute power does not make you absolute. He was more in it. He was incredibly manipulative. And that's what he got off to. So unless the idea that he had of God was somebody who could just masquerade as a devil and yet show them the absolute power to end people, I think he had an incredibly immature sense of morality. But we all, at some point in our lives, did. A lot of people still do. This isn't to say that you should find some random notebook on the ground and start writing down names of CEOs. Please don't do that. Please. It's to say that we want that level of control, but we don't want to be known. We don't want to be heavy-handed about it. That's the thing. He didn't want to be heavy-handed about it, but at the same time, L caught on to him very quickly, incredibly quickly. That's why Elle didn't want to leave his side, because he knew it was him. He just wanted to get him in his net. But Light was definitely more the epitome of heavy handedness, because, like, you're so invested in your own crimes being discovered. And they tried to rationalize why he didn't just, like, kill the entire police department or something. Because he loved the cat and mouse game. There's plenty of angles they could have taken it, and if he really was the god he claims to be, Death Note would have ended in like 2 episodes or 3. But it's such a masterclass in delving into the mind of a control freak. We like to think, and the thing is, they started him off so mundane. He's a excellent student, really good at home, very, he's a good brother, a good son. And you just see him delve deeper and deeper, and you realize the people around him were only ever assets to him. They were only there out of convenience for him. It was all about, what are they doing for me? And if they're not there, how am I going to get somebody else to do that for me? There was never any... His emotions were completely contrived. It's such a good series to look at, because you really start... You start asking yourself, have I ever been this much of a egomaniac? Because you could say he's narcissistic or psychopathic. You could call it dark triad, right? Light Yagami absolutely exhibits dark triad traits, right? You can't really place... Yeah, it's all three. It is all three of the dark triad traits. There are people who are like this, and they are textbook serial killers, I would say. Right? The Jeffrey Dahmers, what was that other guy's name? The really handsome one, Ted Bundy. Yeah, pause. But like, yeah, I mean, his appeal was that he was so handsome to him. He was literally a lady killer, right? Because he was so handsome. The John Wayne Gacy's, that guy, like, every time I see that picture of him in the clown suit, I'm like, this is a fucking creepy ass motherfucker. Who the fuck couldn't tell that he was, like, there was something off about this guy? That's who Kira is presented to us as. A mastermind serial killer, but it lays him bare in the sense that their thinking was always flawed. You can try and figure out the motives of somebody like this, but at the end, it's something so immature and petty. It's something so immature and petty that they're willing to brutally end people's lives just to have the cat and mouse game, right? Sometimes they're the cat, sometimes they're the mouse. I guess in a sense, it's kind of me trying to say that every time you act upon another human being, there's some part of you that wants to push the envelope just a little bit more, just that little bit more. And the thing about this life is, the nicer you are, the weaker you are, and the more you'll be pressed. If you find somebody who's so giving to you and you don't have to give anything to them, you're just going to keep taking and taking and taking. Even if you give them something small in return, they'll give you even more and more. Even if it's giving you admiration, resources, you name it. Human beings have an absolute talent for sniffing out weakness in other human beings. They're absolutely talented, and that's pretty much what society, especially modern society, is just based on, is just sniff out the weakness and attack it as soon as you find it, or not even as soon as you find it, but just just try and be a mastermind about it. Well, really, they're dickheads. They're not even smart when they do it. Death Note serves as such a brilliant lesson in manipulation, especially how to identify it and how to avoid it. It presents so many opportunities for the audience to self-reflect. They really should have developed the Shinigami realm, right? They really should have developed on that as well. But I just find it so interesting how power corrupts. But does power really corrupt, or does power reveal? I think power, holy shit. God damn. My ethnic accent is coming through. Power reveals, it does not corrupt. We're not fucking pure fucking white doves flying through the air. We're fucking humans. If there's any animal on this planet that is decrepitly filthy, it's us. From birth. Especially because we don't decide our parents or our genetics or our environment, our culture, none of that really. We can shape and mold it, yes, but you're born into the culture you're born into. Power reveals who you are. It does not corrupt you. And if our modern interactions are anything to go by, a lot of humans are fucking assholes. A lot of them are pretending to have a god complex, but it always ends the same way. It's your job to make sure it doesn't.